Thank you, everyone. It is a complete honor and a real blessing to be able to be here with you today to share my story. Like the title says, it's about infusing your life with purpose. But the first part is going to be perhaps a bit heavy because it's going to be talking about my trials and tribulations I went through childhood, into my adolescence, into adulthood, that were pretty horrific many times. But it's only to share with you that those atrocities to show and to reveal to others what you can make of your life despite the darkness, that you can come out the other side into the light and really create the life of your dreams. So I am Ana Maria Sanchez. I am best-selling author of Girl from the Hood Gone Good. And I think with a title like that, you get a pretty good idea of what might be the conversation for the first 10 minutes of this talk. But before we go into the presentation, I'd really like to get us grounded because it's 2:30. I've taken 2 naps already, 45. Those days back then are no longer existent. I enjoy my naps. So I went to my car, took a nap, and then I went outside, took a little nap, and I like those little 15-minute perks. So if I was feeling that and I just had an ender table, you guys have been likely walking around and filled with a lot of information and just energy. So I'd like for us to just get really grounded so you can be present to take in the information being channeled through and that I'm also sharing. And the way that I like to do it before sitting is to simply ground your feet into Pachamama, into Mother Earth. Align your backs comfortably on your chairs. But to see a golden light coming from you that goes directly into the earth, which as well comes up reciprocally and comes back in through your body, up your spine, out the top of your crown. So you're also now connected to the universe. So we can really be present with mind, body, spirit, and in the physical to take in the wisdom that comes through. Because many times I share my story and I'm like, I don't remember saying that. So I know my benevolent guides are here to also address each of you and each of your hearts. And with that, I will take 7 deep breaths, honoring each of the chakras to awaken them to spin clockwise. Let's just envision ourselves breathing from the bottom up. So, when I was a child, a very young child, what I once believed at 6 years old was a time in my life that the horror started, being sexually molested. But now as I go back and I do some more investigation and my mother is more genuine with me, we're discovering that it was actually 2 years old that began the beatings and bite marks from who she thought was a very kind and giving babysitter. So to her, she could not conceive that this babysitter would be someone that would return her child, her baby, home at 2 years old with these many bite marks and bruises. But my mom, for whatever reason, young, a bit ignorant, a bit naive, and an immigrant, dared not speak out. It took a grandmother to notice, and eventually that woman got sued, and I'm just finding out about this now. But I do remember at 6 years old what was taking place in the house. From 6 to 8, the sexual molestation continued. And I did try to speak out, as I write in the book and many of my TV interviews. But again, for whatever reason, I feel my parents were simply in much fear, and they were new to the country. And to speak about this, I believe that they thought that maybe we would be sent back. I can't answer for them. We've spoken many times about it. I can come up to my own conclusions, but they ultimately will be answering. And I think partially there is, right now for them, there is a lot more to even address this. When I came out with the book, we were very happy. But at the same time, of course, as you look at your own stuff, when your daughter comes out, naturally get this kind of admittance. So from 6 to 8, there was a continual beatings at night, the sexual encounters, but I continued to go to school and play it off for mommy and daddy, for everyone in the house, because what starts to happen during these cases is that you begin to take it on as if it's your fault. And the perpetrator begins to tell you it is your fault. And if you tell, you will be homeless, starving, and you'll have no one. And at age 6, you tend to believe an elder. So life went on. And eventually, he was kicked out. The reasons why he was kicked out, we don't know. We all suspect now that perhaps my great-great-grandmother found out. But for a reason, thankfully, he was sent away. Now you can imagine what this does to a young mind. So by the age of 8, 9 years old, my personality started to change. And by the age of 11, I had splintered. I had become, at times my family thought I had maybe multiple personality disorders. It wasn't that. I had PTSD. I was depressed with anxiety. I was acne. So by the time I was 11, filled with rage. Walking up and down the beach or up and down our block. And we lived in a very nice neighborhood. So the book is called Girl from the Hood Gone Good. But I grew up in St. Francis Woods, which is a very affluent neighborhood in San Francisco. But what happened was I exiled myself from my own family, from my own wealthy family, because of the shame that I felt. So I went and found a family that I could fit into. And where are you going to find that? With other dysfunctional people. And they're usually at the beach hanging out with no boundaries and no one to look out after them, and that's exactly where I found them. And then we moved to another side of the city, which was a little rougher, by no means really the hood, but I took that bus over to the hood, and I found my family. And to me, it was heaven, because I found people that could understand me. I found people, and no one ever talked about what was going on at home, about molestation or abuse or incest, but we knew by our actions that we were all hurting and angry. And our actions, because our personalities had splintered at such a young age, by the time we were 11, 12, 13, dealt with drugs, alcohol, and being very promiscuous. And by the time I was, like I said, 11, I had a switchblade knife on my pocket and my bell-bottom jeans, and I would walk down the block, and I thought myself not a bully, but I was a bully to bullies. And if I saw anyone being mean to someone else, I would attack. Now, in retrospect, I realized that I thought this was a great martyr kind of thing about me, but in retrospect, after much therapy, much counseling and spiritual guidance, I came to realize, oh, Anna, you were always trying to protect yourself. Each time you thought you were going after someone in the name of someone else, which, very valiant, because my heart was in it for the right reasons, it was a way for me to protect that little girl who could not protect herself, at 2 could barely speak, let alone from 6 to 8, who was literally muffled with socks or cords or whatever. I was not able to speak out. So each person I was fighting for all of us who could not speak out. So as I got older, I was determined though. I was determined to become something, to be able to help others. So though I was addicted, I was an alcoholic by 11, doing weed by 13, and addicted to methamphetamine and cocaine by 14, 15, and selling it at a Catholic school. How they never kicked me out, I don't know. People still think, I think your parents paid more for the tuition because you were off the hook, girl. It's like there's just, everyone knew what you were doing, you were fist fighting and no one paid you. It was for a Catholic school in San Francisco called Mercy. I must say, I do owe them a huge thank you for seeing something in me that I likely did not see. And I do believe like the principal did see in me the damage, but at that time, in the 80s, you couldn't confront family and say, I think something's going on at home that completely derailed her. She does fantastic here in school, but once she leaves, something's going on at home. The laws have obviously changed since then. And by the time I got into college, I knew that I wanted to be a counselor because I wanted to know who I was. What's making me do this? Why am I so angry? Sure, the molestation happened. No, it wasn't that bad though. There's another reason. By then, I had connected with someone from 15 to 25 for 10 years. I was with him, and he severely beat me. But I was madly in love with him. He had no teeth and an afro, but my God, he was so cool. Baddest boy on that beach. He was going to be mine. So like attracts like, and it was a disaster for 10 years. And I thought for sure after that relationship, I had been in college already for 10 years. I'm like, okay, I know better. You know better, you do better. And here comes, Suavecito, Charming, Mr. Charmer, who turned out to be worse than this 10-year relationship. And then 1 to 2 years of being with him, he did more damage to me physically, emotionally, psychologically than the first one in 10 years. So I'm like, okay, Anna, what is it about you that's attracting these kinds of values? It's now you're 28, and you have to realize this is you. At least I was telling you in the psychology books, you're attracting this. And in the metaphysical books I was studying at the same time. With the second one, who I swore I would go to the grave for, he was just amazing to me. But that is a ploy. When you're a sociopath and a psychopath, and you have this game down, and the 28-year-old come out of another relationship doesn't, you think the world of this person until the day comes and he tries to murder you. And I said, okay, I'm really making poor choices here. And I fought like a wild banshee. When I heard, it was Easter Sunday, 1996. And barricaded the car. I heard it coming down the wrong side of the street, so I was walking up Easter Sunday to get my niece a present, a bunny. And I look over and I just see, look like those cartoons, you see their eyes kind of going crazy, red. And he just full throttle ahead, hit me, I went over the car, and then I started running and screaming for help. No one would. Easter Sunday, I don't know if anyone would have helped anyways if it was an Easter Sunday regardless. Eventually he got me and pistol whipped me and dragged me to the car, and when I was in the car, something came over me. I had already gone through 2 relationships. By then it was already 12 years, not to mention since 2 years old abuse. And I got really pissed. And I gave it everything I had. And I kicked his, this was a Golden Glove fighter. He was a boxer and well known, and to unleash the kind of rage on me and energy, I should have been dead. But something came in me and said, I will be damned. God gave me my life. The universe brought me in. I have a duty and a mission to survive this, because this is going to somehow play out. In that nanosecond, I knew that this was going to play out somehow, some way, to not just inspire me to get the hell out of these kind of relationships, but to eventually be able to come forward and share it with women. That maybe you're not in this kind of relationship, but maybe you're keeping yourself down. Maybe it's a relationship where it's more emotional, not physical. Whatever the case, there is something that is binding you. I'm here to let you know you can unbind yourself, even in a dramatic situation like that. So I fought really hard. The car was all smashed up, and I kicked myself out of the front window, grabbed the glass, I still have scars from it, and screamed at him something like, I actually growled. I remember growling and hissing. Only God gave me my life. Who are you to take it? And I'll be damned if you take it. And I uppercutted him and poked both his eyes, an instant black eyes, broken nose. The gun fell, and I limped away. Limped away saying the Our Father and the Holy Mary, because I was raised Catholic. And now I'm a shaman. but I blend them all together now. So that was a very pivotal point in my life, a pivotal point. And I went back to school and had to address my teachers and tell them what had happened. And like, Anna Maria, we always knew. You come in with black eyes. You come in saying your projects were late, your thesis was going to be late. We knew, but we didn't know how to address it because we knew you were going to defend him. So the reason that I am sharing my dirty laundry, and that's pretty heavy, that's why I wanted us to breathe. I mean, this is all true and well recorded in San Francisco courts. I did put him away for 3 years, and then he, 3 years ago, was murdered. And by then we had closure. But the reason that I bring this forward to you is because I want the takeaways to be, wow, when you really show up and you share your story of trial and tribulations, you will be amazed how it not only helps you to heal, because you no longer have that dirty secret in the closet anymore, but it helps others. The more that I speak about this, the more people are coming to me and saying, Anna, I have a coke problem, or Anna, I had a drinking problem, or I think I'm getting abused, whatever it may be. And these are, likely a lot of them Silicon Valley people. Never have they been able to come forward because they didn't trust, because they thought they were the only ones who had to hold this ugly secret. So for that reason, share your story, share your pains, make that connection and bond. Be there as a tribe for your fellow sister and fellow man. And also what it stops having to do is it stops having an impact, a charge in your life. Because now I can tell the story without getting all hyphy up here. Because back in the day I was still angry. I was still feeling the beatings. So I was very, very chip on my shoulder, 2 swords by my side, and the bow and arrow in the back, just in case it ever happened again. So it loosens its power over you. So the more you share it, it no longer becomes a secret. You empower others, you empower yourself, and it shakes off the gut, the metaphysical gut that it's just the repetitive story. And then it helps us to, the third takeaway, it helps us to embrace our shadow. To be like, yeah, this happened. It's not who I am. Unfortunately, my partner now, for whatever reason, maybe because he sees after 16 years all the work I've done, and he still maybe sees a scared little girl at night, because sometimes I have night tremors and terrors, hypervigilance from the PTSD. But to him, he'll sometimes say to me, you're so damaged, you're so broken. And I look at him, I go, no, I'm not. Once upon a time, I would have believed him. I go, no, I'm not. That's my story. That's what I went through. I went through something quite difficult, but I survived it. But it's not who I am anymore. It's part of my story that I'm going forward to share. And it felt good for him to say that, because I realized, oh my God, I just embraced the shadow. I embraced it. So it's something huge to be able to go forward and come clean with what you know is lurking there that needs to be shared, that needs to be distilled, that needs to be deactivated. Because until you deactivate that ugly monster in the closet or robot, it will continue to have power over you, and it binds you. So just showing up genuine and transparent in this world will get you far. And so far that I am now, I was invited to the United Nations last March to speak as a delegate, an accredited delegate, to speak to the UN about against domestic violence and holistic solutions. And I am now, every year, have the honor to go to the UN as an accredited delegate to speak out against domestic violence. And I'll be meeting with them next Tuesday. We'll be flying in. The ambassadors will be flying in. So you just never know where life's going to take you. Q&A time? Okay.
Just want to say thank you, Anna Marie, for just sharing your history, and I'm so sorry about the past, but thank you for sharing. It's really powerful. Yes. So now it's time for Q&A, and how much time do we have for Q&A? About 10 minutes of Q&A right now. So we're going to try to do, this is the first time we're going to try to do this back and forth with the one mic that we have. Okay. So, questions?
I was wondering how well it works trying to story and say, don't end up almost dead. That didn't have any impact on you until you were almost dead, it sounds like. How do you impact the people who are hard-headed, stuck in this cycle, whatever?
Okay, so just repeating the question is, how do you impact ladies that are already currently in this cycle? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I will ask you the questions. How bad do you want this? How bad do you really want it? Because at this age, it's a choice. And that's how one of my best healers and psychotherapists, who was a spiritual psychotherapist, addressed me. And she said, Anna, you're going to have to cut the crap at some point. This is an addiction, and you're scared. But how bad do you want it? Because it depends on how bad you want it, you will make the steps to begin at least a plan, an exit plan. And I have to look at them very seriously, look into their eyes and feel their energy and look at them and are you ready? Many, it's like drinking, many aren't ready to give that up. And same thing with the relationship. It's scary, all the what ifs and all the naysayers. So I begin there, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to do the work? Because we got to go deep inside to find out about ourselves, to break those patterns in ourselves that are continually keeping us bound to this kind of relationship. Because it begins with us. Because ultimately, they don't have any hold on us. We allow it. We surrender it. We're more powerful than we think.
Can you talk a little bit about your work as a shaman and how that relates to the domestic?
Oh.
Okay, sorry. So the question is, could you please tell us a little bit more about your work as a shaman and how that helps or relates to the domestic abuse?
The work as a shaman came, every modality that I use in my private practice, as a counselor, a Reiki healer, pranic, and now shamanic, is something that I underwent myself for personal healing. And then as I was getting the healings, I go, man, this is something I could really bring into my business because this really works. And I started getting trained and taking higher levels, and everything I do in my office is a combination of mind, body, spirit. It has to be. So when I see someone who comes and talks about their emotional pain or physical pain they're in, everyone that comes is looking for inner joy and acceptance, self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, and their worth and their destiny in this world. So what happens with the shamanic after we talk, and we're all heady, we drop into our hearts, we drop into ourselves, we drop into our blood, into the bloodline that is there. And a lot of times I say 80% of what we know is from our ancestors. So I begin to go in and clear that up. Because it's heavy enough what we have to carry around in this lifetime, let alone the awareness that we've got lineages that are kind of there too. So I begin to go in and literally take out, scrape out that which no longer serves us, that which is metaphysical, that's weighing us down like a big fur coat. That's way too big for you and you're just dragging around. So it's a beautiful combination of both the talk therapy with the metaphysical and the release of the energy. You feel lighter, literally lighter as you walk out of the office. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I kept looking at you.
No worries.
So how did you find your
Okay, so the question is, how did you find your next relationship? Yes?
Been with him for 16 years. I find him. Same place found other ones, the bar. I like him bad. At the bar where we all hung out. But I knew him and he was a safe guy and thought there's no way he would do to me what these other guys did. He was responsible, didn't do drugs, worked, had 2 great kids, went through a calm divorce. And I moved in with him. I thought I struck gold. I'm going to, but he came with the laundry bag of anger and depression himself. So rather than beat me, what he would do is be condescending to me. So I'm like, okay, I think I just got into the same kind of relationship, except there's no fist fighting in this one, or bats. So for 5 years I put up with it, and then I realized, my God, he's gonna be the death of me, and he didn't even hit me. So I moved out to Ananda spiritual community, lived there for 8 years, learned to understand who Anna was, broke up with him, and then he had a nervous breakdown. And then he came back, and then we started going to couples counseling, and it's gotten better consistently. And in all honesty, I believe now for 16 years though, I've done so much growing. And we may be growing apart now, but it's okay. We did the best we could with what we had, and yeah, sky's the limit for me. I want to tour, I want to go everywhere. I want to build wells right here in our own backyards for our kids. So.
What can we do as an audience to support you in your mission of stopping abuse on an international scale?
Okay. So the question is, what can we do as audience, or just as the audience members, to help support you in stopping abuse on an international scale?
Thank you for asking me that, because that was just proposed to me by Marilyn Fowler, who is the ambassador for the UN, who invited me to go, and you don't go to the UN without her blessings and her pass. She has been asking me actually to start now recruiting more Silicon Valley, East Bay, all these areas where they have not touched, because it's San Francisco based. And the United Nations is getting upset that we are not coming, California is not coming as a group to the UN. So we'll talk, because it's exactly that people just like you that I would like to talk to who are interested in rising up on an international level. I mean, it starts in our communities, international and global. But let's definitely talk so I can connect you and start doing some more meetings.
So we have 1 minute remaining, so just a quick question.
Oh, sorry.
In the white?
Okay, hi. Did you ever read Run Baby Run by Nikki Cruz?
Did you ever read Run Baby Run by Nikki Cruz?
I can't say it in Spanish, Correa, but or something. But it reminds me of your story. It's a terrific, it's real tough. The first 50% of it is rough. But anyway, I think it would be great.
Thank you for bringing that up to me. I really appreciate that. I will look into it.
Okay.
I thought I kept my book light, and kids at juvenile hall were reading it, and they're like, "Light? This is light?" I'm like, I left out a lot, and they're like, "Oh, we got the picture."
Yeah, he's Puerto Rican, and he came from the spiritualism in Puerto Rico. But boy, what a life he had.
Yeah. And that's what ultimately saved me, was coming full circle back to my spirituality. And honestly, when I was out there at the Hunter's Point smoking the drugs, I would be saying Archangel Michael to the left of me, Archangel Michael to the right of me. I take my hit and I pass out. And I really feel it. I'm without a doubt. At 45, for the fist fights and the things I've gone through, I can only give it up to the angels and to the devil God that came and said, fight for me. So if you have any questions, I'm at my table.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's like straight and then slightly to the left. Right. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing.